July 2nd, 1941. A forest clearing near Dunaburg, Latvia. The Soviet front is collapsing, and somewhere between gunfire and silence, one man peels potatoes for the evening soup. His name is Ivan Pavlovich Sereda. He doesn't know it yet, but by nightfall, this cook will fight a German tank with an axe and win. The camp of the 91st Tank Regiment sprawled across the birch forest like a wound in the earth. Smoke rose from fires. Diesel fumes hung in humid air. Soldiers moved with the exhaustion of men retreating for 11 days straight. Ivan stood at his field kitchen, a mobile cart with a pot big enough to bathe in. 22 years old, trained in Leningrad, 8 months in uniform. His war was knives, cabbage, and feeding men who might not see breakfast. He worked methodically. Peel, chop, stir, check the fire. The routine was meditative, a small island of order in a world tearing itself apart. Around him, the camp hummed with false normalcy. Soldiers cleaned rifles, traded cigarettes, lied about what would happen next. A radio man hunched over his set, antenna pointed at nothing. Tank crews sat on their treads, scrubbing carbon from breech blocks with gasoline-soaked rags. No one spoke about what they knew. The Wehrmacht was grinding through Soviet defenses like a thresher through wheat. Dunaburg had fallen. Riga would fall. Even Moscow wasn't safe. But here, with soup boiling and tobacco smoke curling into birch branches, they could pretend the world still made sense. Sereda added salt to the pot. Too much shortened a man's life. Too little made him weak. The balance mattered. Everything mattered when you controlled the only comfort left. A young lieutenant approached, helmet tilted back, sweat streaking his face. "Smells good, Ivan Pavlovich." "It's cabbage and potatoes," Sereda replied. "Same as yesterday." "Better than nothing." Nothing is free. This costs discipline. The lieutenant laughed, but his eyes were somewhere east, where his family lived. At 14:30 hours, the camp's fragile peace shattered. A motorcycle roared through the trees. "German armor, 3 kilometers west. Get your weapons. Move out." The camp erupted. Orders shouted. Engines roared. Men scrambled. A retreat in motion. Captain Yegorov found Sereda amid the chaos. "You, cook, listen carefully. Sir, you stay here. Guard the supplies. Keep the fire going. When we return—" "If we return," someone muttered. Yegorov ignored it. "When we return, we'll need hot food and medical supplies. Understand?" Sereda's throat went dry. "Stay here? Alone?" "You have a rifle. In the supply tent. Then you're armed. Defend the camp if necessary." Yegorov was already moving away. "We'll be back before dark." But his voice carried no conviction. Within minutes, tanks rolled out, engines growling. Infantry followed, faces grim. The noise faded into forest silence. Sereda stood in the empty camp, the fire crackling softly, surrounded by ghosts of movement. The silence pressed in, thick as fog. Sereda checked the pot, still boiling, and tried to convince himself the captain would return. The wind shifted, birds scattered. Then came the sound, grinding metal, slow and deliberate. A tank, not Soviet. The rhythm was wrong, sharper, cleaner, mechanical perfection that no T-26 could match. He ducked behind the kitchen cart, peering through smoke. A gray Panzer rolled into the clearing, turret swiveling, gun snout gleaming like a predator's eye. No infantry, just the machine, alone, scouting. Sereda's pulse thudded in his ears. He had no anti-tank rifle, no grenades, just an axe, a ladle, and a rifle barely sighted. The tank halted. Its turret rotated toward the field kitchen. The German commander climbed out, young, dust-covered, grinning, pistol in hand. He walked toward the field kitchen, relaxed, expecting nothing. Sereda pressed against the far side of the cart, heart hammering. The soup pot bubbled between them. His hand found the axe, wooden handle, iron head, simple tool for splitting firewood. The commander leaned over the pot, sniffed, mocked. Sereda lunged. Instinct, panic, pure animal reaction. Axe swung wild. The commander's eyes went wide. A shot rang out. Missed. He sprinted back toward the tank, shouting, "Rusin! Rusin!" Sereda chased 3 steps, chest heaving, axe raised. The commander slammed the hatch shut. Machine gun fire erupted, NG-34 spitting rounds. Bullets tore the kitchen apart. Sereda dove behind a crate, curling into a ball. Smoke drifted. The absurdity hit him. He was a cook facing a tank. Alone. The tank's engine roared, turret rotating, ready to crush the camp. Sereda couldn't outrun it, couldn't fight it, couldn't even scratch its armor. But he could confuse it. His eyes landed on a canvas tarp, half buried under debris. Desperate, he grabbed it and ran. Not away, but toward the tank. Germans didn't expect this. Sprinting, tarp streaming like a cape, he reached the glacis plate and threw it over the turret, blocking the commander's vision. Inside, confusion erupted. Sereda clutched the axe, crawled forward, and jammed his apron into the driver's vision slit. The tank stopped, blind. He spotted another port, stuffed it with a grain sack. The crew was now completely disoriented. The machine lurched, unable to see, its engine roaring helplessly. Sereda climbed onto the rear deck, axe raised, striking the turret hatch locking mechanism. Clang, clang, clang. Each blow echoed inside the tank, magnified, sounding like artillery. The coaxial machine gun fired wildly, bullets ricocheting off armor. Sereda moved to the gun barrel, hot from firing, wedged the axe blade into the shroud, wrenched it sideways. Metal groaned. The barrel misaligned. He kept striking, shoulders burning, hands blistered, refusing to stop. Then he shouted, changing position, creating multiple voices. "Surround the tank. 3 o'clock. Grenades ready. Anti-tank rifle, take position." The Germans heard muffled shouts, axe blows from all directions, tank rocking with impacts. Panic consumed them. They believed a full squad surrounded them. The commander made a decision. Hatch cracked open. A white cloth appeared. Nicht schießen, wir geben uns. The German commander emerged, hands raised, pale, followed by the gunner, loader, driver, and bow gunner. 5 soldiers, surrendering to a cook with an axe. Sereda grabbed his rifle from the ruined kitchen, hands shaking, pointed it at them. "Down," he said in Russian. They obeyed, understanding the tone, if not the words. The forest was silent, except for the idling engine and Sereda's ragged breathing. Distantly, he heard Soviet engines returning. The 91st Tank Regiment rolled back at 1845 hours, expecting soup and quiet. Instead, they found 5 prisoners. A disabled Panzer III with a canvas draped over its turret, barrel bent, vision ports stuffed. Sereda stood covered in soot and soup, rifle in one hand, axe in the other. Laughter erupted among soldiers. Disbelief, awe, amusement. Captain Yegorov approached slowly. "Ivan Pavlovich, what happened here?" Sereda's voice was hoarse. "I defended the camp, sir." "With an axe? I didn't have grenades." The captain examined the tank. Bent barrel, tarp, grain sack. "You did this? Alone?" "They came for the soup," Sereda said. Soldiers laughed, not mockery, but confronting something too absurd to be real. The German prisoners were marched away. The disabled tank was later examined by engineers and confirmed serviceable. That night, around a new fire, Sereda sat in silence while comrades retold the story with embellishments. Major General Dmitry Lelyashenko visited 3 days later, reading from a commendation. Sereda single-handedly captured an enemy tank and 5 prisoners, setting an outstanding example of heroism. He was pinned with a medal, reassigned as a scout. "You fought a tank with an axe. I think you'll figure it out." The axe became a relic, a talisman for soldiers before missions. Sereda survived the siege of Leningrad and the Battle of Moscow. Bullets, artillery, sniper fire, starvation. But the peace was slower to kill him. Memories festered. Nightmares came. On November 18th, 1950, 9 years after his impossible battle, Ivan Pavlovich Sereda died in Alexandrovka. Age 31. Official cause, illness. Friends knew the war never ended. Some battles take longer to kill. Decades later, historians debated the story. Some called it propaganda. Others insisted no man could disable a tank with an axe. The German tank commander, interviewed after the war, confirmed every detail. He remembered the Russian cooks screaming, the axe blows sounding like artillery, and surrendering to one man, convinced they were surrounded. "He was either the bravest man I ever met," the German said, "or completely insane. Perhaps both. Perhaps there's no difference in war." The tank was later destroyed in combat. The axe disappeared during the retreat from Moscow. The field kitchen was never rebuilt. Yet the story endured. Ivan Sereda, the cook who fought a tank. Proof that courage can look like madness. That one man, fueled by refusal, can stop steel. That sometimes the soup is worth defending.